Ethel Cain has garnered quite the cult following over the past few years, particularly with a song like American Teenager seeming to have a bit of a TikTok boost. But generally, honestly, it seems as though that the album Preacher's daughter has gained quite the love as well. And it's easy to see why. I think that is a good album. It was one that I did enjoy at the time. I thought American Teenager particularly was a fantastic song. Still want to go back to quite a lot. But I wasn't absolutely head over heels for what Ethel Cain was doing. I was curious. I was interested. I was ready to keep tapping into more of her music. And yeah, I was just kind of ready to see where she'd take the sound next, given the fact that the EP that she dropped this year was just this like really harrowing drone. just complete 180 from what we'd seen before for her. But I think that was kind of a way to get out of a record deal or something or other. That's what fans had told me. It wasn't like a permanent sound for her. And yeah, with this new album here, you can kind of clearly see that that probably was the case. Willoughby Tucker, I'll Always Love You, definitely sticks to some of the droney sounds, particularly on the interludes, the ambience that comes through on those tracks. But I would say it more so kind of like develops into this slowcore release, if anything. Compared to Preacher's Daughter, I would say it's a little bit of a change here. And honestly, admittedly, I would normally be somebody that's quite negative about that style of music. There aren't too many slowcore albums that you could ever find me gassing up and hyping up, I will say. It's one of those genres for me where I'm just a bit like, I don't know, man. I don't know. But you know one thing I do love? I love an album that books the trend. I love an album that subverts my expectations and kind of eliminates my biases. Because every now and then there is an album that does that. There is. There are certain genres I'm not as keen on. There are certain styles I might not be as keen on. But I love it when an artist can lure me in, even when that sound or style isn't my usual thing. That's not to say there are many genres or styles that I really don't like, because there aren't, honestly. But Ethel Cain has found a way to do it. I think this is fantastic. Willoughby Tucker, I'll Always Love You. Yeah, this is a pretty damn great album. First and foremost, I'm just enamored with the production and how patient it is. It moves at such a pace that feels like it could bore you or maybe just not really interest you or be engaging. And look, I get it. If you are somebody that is finding that when you're playing this album, I'm not going to get mad at you. Like, I can see why somebody wouldn't enjoy this. But it's just finding a way to like keep me engaged. And Ethel Cain's fantastic vocals across this thing. Like, it's not very obvious that Ethel Cain has a great voice, because it's not like, you know, really in your face in a kind of Mariah Carey sense, obviously. It's kind of like a bit of a Billie Eilish thing going on here, where if you just pay enough attention, there's some really beautiful vocals that pop up here. And it's really emotional and it's painful. And it's harrowing, just like you'd expect from the EP that came out this year, but it's harrowing in a different way. And if that's not enough on its own, well, delving into the themes and the writing and the lyrics on this album is an absolute treat as well, because Ethel Cain's storytelling here is amazing. It's vivid, it's incredibly detailed. There's some really wonderful metaphors thrown throughout. There's just this really like great grasp of the emotional like turbulence that comes with a relationship and losing that relationship and realizing that the relationship doesn't quite work. The whole thing is just written freaking brilliantly, man. Oh my days. The opening track, Janie, describes this amazing friendship that she had with somebody who she describes as her only true friend, who then ends up getting a boyfriend, and this situation kind of causes this incredible anxiety about like losing this friend, and this relationship suddenly kind of taking over that person's life. It's one of those things, man. We've all been there. We've all been there, particularly when you're young and you've got, perhaps a smaller circle of friends, or you rely particularly on this one friend you've had since you were like 8 or 9 years old, or whatever the story could be. And then all of a sudden you get a bit older, the relationships start to come in and creep in, and then you just have this horrible gut feeling that are they going to just go, and I'm not going to have this friend anymore, and she pleads like, please don't leave me on the track, kind of reinforcing to the boyfriend that's come along, like, she was my sister first, like she was mine first, like all of those jealousies and insecurities that come through with it. It's a really well written track, but I think once you get into the bulk of the album, it becomes way more invigorating past this point, even though this track is already really well written. Now, the Willoughby Tucker interlude, which is this really nice ambient piece, is kind of like, I guess an introduction to the main character, I guess, throughout this album, which focuses on her relationship with Willoughby Tucker. You get into the track Fuck Me Eyes, which is this story of this girl who clearly is very attractive, and Willoughby Tucker is in a relationship with this girl, and I guess again the jealousy, the insecurity kind of plays into that here as well. Ethel kind of reminding herself that she'll never be that kind of angel, she'll never be seen in that kind of way, perhaps by Willoughby Tucker or anybody for that case. But it's also mentioned in the track that nobody wants to take this girl home as well, so while she might be just being used for her appearance and how beautiful she is, like, nobody actually wants to be with her. So yeah, I guess the insecurities come through there for Ethel, and the track is like this, like really like huge cinematic, like synth pop piece as well. Like, it kind of does have very similar tones, I guess, to what American Teenager did from Preacher's Daughter, but it's the only track I would even say is remotely like anything from the album, really, generally. But it does have this huge, expansive sound. It sounds fantastic. Nettles, on the flip side, has this more country feel to it. It's a really lovely vibe to the song. I love the instrumental on this one. And Dust Bowl as well has this huge like crescendo moment. It just sounds fantastic. Like, the instrumentation just crashes together like a post-rock song or something, but it sounds really, really bloody good. I really like the writing on Dust Bowl as well, discussing kind of like the kind of beauties of Willoughby Tucker's character and who he is as a person. Just each kind of verse starting with Pretty Boy, but then kind of like going into different aspects of who Willoughby Tucker is, I think is really, really good, because it could... Well, it does have these multiple meanings, like Pretty Boy being, the prettiness of the appearance of somebody, but then also the prettiness of their character. And then there's some really great little ways that Ethel finds in describing this person. It's great. And it's kind of a great way to depict, when you're just kind of like falling in love with somebody and you're just kind of like obsessing over the details, the little characteristics about them. It's really, really beautifully written. The repetition of that last line, I think, is really good as well, where she says about how, like, his eyes are all over me, and then, like, it kind of, like, degrades into just being more about, like, him getting over her, which kind of becomes more prevalent on the themes of the songs that come after this, which I think is a clever little foreshadowing, I guess it could be. Maybe I'm misinterpreting that aspect of the way over me is said, but it just feels quite purposeful, I would say, because Tempest is ultimately where the relationship starts to crash, and Ethel Cain uses the imagery of this tornado, and uses that as a way to kind of describe and depict the relationship, I guess, swirling and crashing and coming down and falling apart in a pretty brutal and brooding manner. The writing on this track uses Willoughby's flaws and perhaps his relationship with his father, kind of highlighting a lot of his issues that maybe create a lot of problems within the relationship. The actual storm itself becomes a pretty pivotal moment as well, where he's kind of like talking about how he's just going to wait here and just, I guess, wait for death to arrive and let the storm and the tornado take him away. It is, I think, the only track on the album that is actually described from his perspective, and he's talking about how he's being left all alone, and then Ethel Cain is just like leaving him there, but then is full of extreme regret at the idea of how should she have ever done this? Like, should she have ever left him there? And I don't know. I wasn't entirely sure. I thought at this point is the point where he passes away. I'm not entirely sure he does pass away. Maybe it's just left open for interpretation because the final track wasn't quite as obvious in that regard. But I don't know. Maybe somebody in the comments can clear that up for me. But I wasn't entirely sure if this is the point where he does actually just die. But I don't know if that's entirely clear or not, or I've just missed something. I don't know. I do think the forever repetition is really great, though. It kind of highlights Ethel Cain's extreme regret and just like never really ever being able to let it go. But yeah, again, with the way the instrumentation builds on this track, it sounds fantastic. It matches the tone, the intensity of the situation. It's just really good. Like, I don't know, maybe I need to go back to Preacher's Daughter, and maybe I will have kind of like an aha moment with that album, and maybe it will click even more. But listening to this album, man, I'm just really blown away with the way the writing and the themes just completely feel like they're matching the tones and the way the songs are kind of drifting and becoming even more intense. It's just a really, really cleverly put together album. The final song is this 15-minute track. It's fantastic again, once again. I mean, the runtime of some of these track lengths you'd think would feel really long, but they don't, honestly. Like, this is an hour and 15-minute album, and I do not feel like I sat through that long of an album at all, which is always a great sign because I'm just so captivated by the writing and, again, the way the songs are structured. But it's so good. And then this track, I think, is, again, a really heavily relatable track for many people, with this idea of like wanting to fix the person, constantly doubting if they're angry at you or all these things, and you're just questioning over and over again, and you just don't really know what they're thinking or they're feeling. And the idea of the person being more, I guess, different to what they actually are, and the idea of the relationship in your head is very different to the reality, I think is depicted really well in this track as well. And she kind of just outlines it in a really, really simple way, but I think that's all the songs need. You don't really need to overcomplicate these emotions and feelings, because, you know, Ethel Cain's just kind of like putting it out there, and it makes total sense the minute you hear it, really. And yeah, the also the idea of like not really knowing them and thinking you knew them more than you actually did. And the entire song just kind of outlines all of these ideas and these things that are going on in your head so wonderfully. A lot better than I've just kind of done in a summary there. But yeah, you kind of get the point. Yeah, I mean, just a very, very well written album. An album I think the more I sit with, it will be one of those where I'll pick up on these little lines or little lyrics here and there and be like, oh yeah, I didn't catch that the first time. I didn't even catch it by the time I got to the review. And yeah, I'll just be constantly chipping away at the writing style and the beautiful imagery and the incredible lyrics that come through on this album, and just being wowed by it every time I listen to it. Because like I say, it was kind of unraveling itself the more I listened to it anyway. So the more listens beyond this, I'm sure I'll feel the same. But yeah, it's a very, very good album, man. I'm very impressed. One of my favourites of the year. I think I'm going to go an 8.5 out of 10. I think it definitely deserves that. I think it could honestly be even higher, but I think that's fair enough for right now. My only main gripe or critique, if you will, is that there are quite a few interludes that do break up the album. I think the first interlude is the most important one, being the second track, but maybe we didn't need like 2 or 3 scattered throughout the album. They do sound good, I do enjoy them, but given the fact that we did just get that really lengthy drone piece that came out early this year from Ethel already, I don't know, maybe we didn't quite need that much on this album, but still not really a main problem or a major issue, just something I maybe felt could have been tidied up or something like that, or maybe reduced to just 2 or 1 interlude, something like that. That is it from me, though. That is how I feel about this album. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you agree, disagree? What's your favorite track? And yeah, was very surprised by this one. Maybe even my viewers will be surprised how much I like this one as well. But sometimes, you know what, man, it is what it is, and you just gotta take it in your stride and welcome the surprises, because sometimes they do come out of nowhere. And yeah, I'm very much on board with Ethel Cain now. I think this was definitely a turning point for me with her music. Did like it before, but yeah, this is like a major stepping stone for me to loving her music. So let me know what you think in the comments. Do have a good day. Subscribe if you haven't already as well, and goodbye.